And now it is my honor to introduce the captain of the Membership Action Plan Initiative, Rotary International Director for Zone 33 and 34, Patrick Eakes.
Thank you so much, Andy, and welcome to the September Membership Action Plan webinar. Today, we're talking about one of the most crucial issues that any organization needs to address: finding great members. Whether you run a business or a volunteer organization, your most important asset is your people. And just like a business, Rotary clubs have to plan on some of their members moving on and needing to be replaced. And if we want to grow our business, we need even more people. We all know that the key to success is finding great people. We can't just rely on people walking in off the street if we want to build a club that's fun, vibrant, and effective. Tonight, we have two presenters from very different clubs. One club is 15 years old and is the average size of Rotary clubs across the globe. The other club is 109 years old and is extremely large. Although their clubs seem to be very different, they share the need for members. Each club created a multi-year plan to build an outstanding club. I know I've enjoyed hearing their story, and I think you will as well. Our first speaker is Anant Venkataraman from the Rotary Club of Western Forsyth in North Carolina. He was president of his club 3 years ago, and he has a great perspective on what it takes to create consistent, moderate growth so a club can have much greater impact on its community and on its members. Anant, please tell us your club's story.
Thank you, Patrick. Good evening, everyone. Let's go back 10 years. The Rotary Club of Western Forsyth had just celebrated its 10-year anniversary. Our membership had grown from a charter of 12 members to 27 members. Our members were engaged, the club was on the up and up, things were looking bright. Then we hit some hard times. Some members moved, commitments changed, some passed away, and members just couldn't attend our meetings anymore. Our numbers started to dwindle, and we're on our way out the door. Let's fast forward 5 years. In 2019, our club president, Linda Fossier, had a conversation with then President-elect Jean Blackwater after one of our meetings. She saw the writing on the wall. We'd gone all the way down to 14 members. Something needed to be done. In addition, she felt that having multiple fundraisers throughout the year was putting a strain on our members, and thought maybe we could accomplish that with just one fundraiser throughout the year to raise enough money to take care of all the charities and service projects that we give out yearly. A plan was then put into place to intentionally grow our club membership while holding one large fundraiser a year. But we were intentional in doing this. To do that, we needed to do three things. First, we had to plan a special event. Second, we had to enhance our public image. And thirdly, we needed to create a club environment where guest is best and target service-minded individuals in our community. Now I want to tell you about these steps in the next few minutes. Jean accepted this challenge and went to putting together our first special event, which was a D-Day presentation during our club meeting where veterans were invited and meals were taken care of. Our room was packed in May of 2019 and a spark was ignited. We gained 2 new members from that meeting. Now, in order to tackle the fundraiser, Jean remembered nostalgically the comedy roast he had seen on TV at a younger age and wanted to recreate that with local celebrities. But we were intentional in doing this. We reached out to local celebrities, asked to help their charity of choice, and in doing so, we thought that we would increase our public image and grow our membership. Our first venture was in the fall of 2019. We roasted one another Mike Swain, a local clothier in our community, known for his selfless service and educating the youth. We raised over $2,800 for South Fork Elementary. Shortly thereafter, he became a member. After COVID, we roasted Wake Forest head basketball coach Dave Odom and raised over $41,000 for the Winston-Salem Street School. In 2022, we roasted former WXII TV personality Cameron Kent and raised over $15,000 for Samaritan Ministries. And last year, we roasted the king himself, Richard Petty, in front of 500 attendees and raised over $60,000. I bring these up to show that we were able to partner with some great individuals, not just to help their causes, but ours as well. More importantly, we raised our public image profile. And after these events, we gained new guests and visitors who wanted to join our club and wanted to help the community. We just need to put our new philosophy into practice. Our club motto is guest is best, and we recognize that they are the most important person in the room. Guests and visitors are warmly greeted by our sergeant of arms, who then lets one of the more seasoned and outgoing members in our club know that we have a VIP. This member introduces themselves with excitement and elation and proceeds to introduce them to the rest of the members at the table. They help them order their meal, ask them questions, and take a genuine interest in their affairs. When our president asks if there are any guests, they happily stand up, introduce the guest, and the club applauds with zeal. After the meeting is over, those members who haven't had an opportunity to introduce themselves to the guest make it a priority to go ahead and do so. In this way, we feel that every member has an opportunity to touch and engage with the new visitor, therefore creating some warmth and a sense of inclusion. In terms of communication, we don't shock them on the front end with an application or contact information sheet. Instead, we casually gather that information in conversation to stay in touch. Now, our club does have a few salespeople, as I'm sure your clubs do as well, so we leverage their skills to gain new members by having them take the point and invite these visitors to return. Such members have a certain knack for closing leads. Why not use their strong suit? The guest comes back a second time, we feel certain that these members can close and seal the deal. To date, we close over 75% of our returnees. Now, since 2019, our membership has grown immensely. From our meager 14 members, we ended 2023 with 33 members. Currently, we have 34 members and certainly have room to grow. We have gathered members after events that increase our public image and captivate people's hearts. We intentionally invite guests to service projects, special event programs, and fundraisers. We still continue to have our D-Day presentations, and over the years, we have some captivating presentations like Johnny Carson, Don Knotts, Jimmy Stewart, and It's a Wonderful Life. In terms of the D-Day presentations, we most recently had one in May at a local restaurant. There were over 30 guests and local news and media there. Just want to tell you all, this action strategy started with a spark and a couple of new and innovative ideas. With a strategy in place, coupled with a focus on special events, public image, and a guest is best philosophy, we're able to more than double our club size. With a means to deliver visitors and guests and an intentional strategy to engage, any club can do the same. So that's our story. I'd like to introduce Kurt Laudenbach now to tell you his story. Kurt's club has a few differences from my club. For one thing, Kurt's club is the downtown Sioux Falls Rotary Club, where the average low temperature in January is 8 degrees. Ouch. And whereas my club has 33 members, Kurt's has 330. Just a small difference. So we're pretty different from each other, but Kurt's club faced some of the same challenges as mine. We both created a growth culture that makes each of us successful, finding and engaging new members. Kurt, tell us all how you did it.
Thank you, Anat. It's my pleasure to be with you all this afternoon to promote and grow Rotary across our great country. Once again, I'm Kurt Laudenbach. I'm the president of the Downtown Sioux Falls Rotary Club, part of District 5610 here in the sunny and warm Great Plains today. In fact, we're at 83 degrees today and not even thinking about that 8 degrees or less, Anat, that we do frequently see in January. So Downtown Sioux Falls Rotary, as mentioned earlier, is 109 years old, having been founded in 1915. And originally it was made up of the kind of the movers and shakers in Sioux Falls, was widely known as the check writing club. Busy executives here in Sioux Falls felt that their way of making a difference in the community was to write checks to benefit good causes. That's what they could do. A few years back, our board of directors decided that we needed to cast a wider net and attract more members. and it was an intentional effort to increase the populations of both female and younger members of the community to our club. The results of those efforts are apparent. The club has grown by nearly 30% in the last 5 years, and now we're actually now enjoying a roster of 344 members, and that makes us the 10th largest club in the United States and the 15th largest club in the world. We do admit that we've been aided by rapid growth in the Sioux Falls metro area. It's now over 300,000 people, but you'll see later as we go through the presentation that we're intentional and aggressive in growing our club. So again, 5 years ago, the membership committee and club leadership developed what we call a Rotary, Downtown Rotary member recruitment process, recruitment guide. The document was intended to provide a roadmap for attracting member candidates and turn them into members. So it involves a 5-step process. Step 1 is to identify. We actively seek out candidates for membership by monitoring various business development communications and organizations such as the Chamber of Commerce, family organizations, other communication processes within the community. We also constantly remind our members to invite people they are meeting in their circles of influence and that they need to be proactive in inviting guests, much as many of us do. Step 2 of our process is the courting phase. In this phase, we make sure we're making additional contact with guests. We like to show that we care, want them to be a part of a special cause. Once again, we instill in our members that this is a year-round effort. The third part of our process is the application, and this step is to ensure that a prospective member's credentials and values align with Rotary. A qualifications committee reviews each application to make sure they are a fit and forwards those approved applications onto the board of directors for final approval. Step 4 involves inducting new members into the club, and we try to make them feel special by giving them a moment in the sun. We also start the process of making them Rotarians with a quarterly orientation meeting. Once step 4 is completed, we work to get all members engaged early so they develop a personal connection to Rotary and its many good causes. One key effort in that is one-on-one coffee or lunch meetings between a board member and new members just to learn more about each other. At about the same time the recruitment process was developed, we also created a candidate qualifiers as part of our concerted effort to attract more women and younger professionals. The 4 criteria were established to serve as a guide to new members. First, we continue to seek proprietor, partner, corporate officers, and managers, the more traditional qualification for downtown Sioux Falls membership. In other words, those people that are considered movers and shakers in the Sioux Falls business community. A second qualifier is someone who's in an executive position. The difference between the first qualifier and the second one is that the first one describes the larger, more professional organizational leaders, such as bankers, law partners, CEOs of large companies, etc. While this qualifier really pertains to more non-C-suite executives or entrepreneurs, people who may be still pretty high in the food chain, but not necessarily running a business, or young, smaller business if they do. The third qualifier that we identified was capturing those candidates who may be a local leader of a business, whether they may be a head of a realtor firm or head of a charity. And that has been a really high return qualifier for those people because they tend to be already dialed into a service mentality and they fit into the Rotary values as such. Our last qualifier is what we call a thought leader. And this was admittedly a little difficult to clearly define, but really it was our attempt to create a pathway to membership for candidates who may be earlier in their career. These candidates must demonstrate through the application process that they were upwardly mobile, beyond an entry-level position, and have evidence of service to the community beyond their career development. Once we developed our member recruitment process and identified key criteria for potential members, there are still other key success factors that we've identified. First, you can't achieve if you don't create a goal. This is a simple step, but is missed oftentimes. A key goal for us was not necessarily to just try to pick up specific new numbers, but it was specific to attracting more women and younger members. We also targeted significant community leaders and asked them twice. First, we asked them to come to a meeting, and sometimes more than one, as many do. And then we asked them to join. Once again, many people don't do this step, but when you're working to attract new members, we see that as essentially a selling process. And a key part of the selling process requires that you ask for the order. So we asked them to join. The benefit of those key leaders is that they tend to network with other key leaders and they become part of our pipeline efforts and then our future recruiters for the organization. Many people who are focused on the idea that everyone joins Rotary should be all in for Rotary and its causes. And we fully embrace that and promote it. But we focus first on getting them to join Rotary, and then we work to help them become Rotarians. Even if they don't go all in, they still provide valuable dollars that supports Rotary International, District Rotary, and sometimes we're dissatisfied with that. Lastly, we hold 2 member drives each year, one in the fall and one in the spring, and we try to make them fun. For example, in the last drive, we pitted the board of directors against the rest of the membership, daring them to out-promote us, which they did. Those efforts brought in 15 new members in the month of April alone. The proof is in the results. Because Downtown Sioux Falls Rotary had a plan that was focused on casting a wider net in the community, you can see the growth we've had in the last 5 years. Total membership has grown nearly 30% over that period. I noted in the last slide, but did not get into detail on the importance of programming. Historically, we're much like I believe many clubs do, invite a guest speaker, give them the podium, and they do whatever they want in their presentation. To be candid, some people just aren't very exciting in their presentation style. And meetings can be quite boring as some speakers simply read their slides. I'm sure we've all experienced that. When the pandemic shut down in-person meetings, we went virtual from one of our member studios. Our president interviewed a couple of subject matter experts on COVID-19 and pandemic-related matters, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. As a result, the interview style with the panel and a moderator, who's always a Rotary member, which is another way of getting people involved, and that's become our standard meeting format now. Now, we still mix it up a little bit by having other presentation styles, such as the Webb satellite telescope. That was a presentation, and sometimes those work well. So we still do that somewhat, but primarily we use a panel with a moderator. I mention that because we always make sure that some of the best programming for the year is scheduled during those member drives, which adds another feather in our cap as the place to go to be in the know. I think about some key programs such as U.S. senators, congressmen, our governor, other impactful subjects that put us on the cutting edge. I think I've made it clear that our efforts have been to attract more women and younger professionals. The slide on the screen now demonstrates the evolution from being that old white guys club to being a younger and more diversified club. You can see that in the last 5 years, we've increased our female membership by 20% and professionals under 50 by nearly 50 members, a 54% increase in vibrancy that comes from younger professionals. To summarize, I urge you to be thoughtful about a plan, create a process that can be replicated every year, and make sure your entire membership understands that each of them has a responsibility to attract and recruit new members. I intentionally use the word recruit. Great companies recruit high caliber employees, great sports teams recruit impact players, and we believe Rotary should have the same desire to stock its roster with leaders who can make a difference. An example of that, the picture you see on the screen is a rendition of an all-inclusive playground at a new park being constructed in downtown Sioux Falls. Downtown Sioux Falls Rotary leadership led an effort last summer and raised over $260,000 from club members in 90 days to contribute to this inclusive playground, which will allow children with physical limitations to enjoy a playground. The sidewalk you see in the picture will be called Rotary Way, and it will have the Rotary wheel implanted in the sidewalk at regular intervals. This is an example of what can happen when you seek out and attract people of action. Thank you for your time. I'm now going to turn this over to Rotary Coordinator for Zone 33, Terry Weaver, for the final piece of tonight's presentation. In case you wondered, the Rotary coordinator and a team of assistants support district leaders in their roles of helping Rotary clubs expand their reach. That means growing Rotary clubs. Terry's territory, say that 5 times, spans 17 districts from South Carolina to Western Pennsylvania. That's over 900 Rotary clubs and over 34,000 Rotarians. Terry, what are some important things to know about growing a Rotary club?
Thanks for asking, Kurt. One of the most important things to know is you need to get started. One of the primary failure modes of clubs that don't meet their membership goal is they wait too late in the year to start the process of attracting new members. Let me explain a few things I've learned over several years of watching thousands of Rotary clubs operate. Some things I've learned about how membership organizations work. And the first of those is that, as Kurt mentioned, attrition is real. People do leave membership organizations, and they leave Rotary at an average of about 16% a year. That would be the average for North America. The average for the rest of the world is slightly higher in the mid 16 to 17 range. Now, you might think that's high, and I did too, until I started looking around at some comparable data. For example, U.S. Trade Associations, another membership organization, they lose members at a rate of about 15% a year. And then I looked at commercial businesses, like people in the alarm monitoring business, think ADT or Wells Fargo. They turn over customers at a rate of about 13% a year. And insurance agents, think property, casualty, auto, State Farm, Farm Bureau. They lose customers at an average rate of about 16% a year. In that business, a 10% attrition rate or 90% retention is considered world-class. What I've also learned is that in a given club, the attrition rates are remarkably consistent. They repeat themselves every year unless something different happens. Because unless something changes about the character of the club, about the average number of people will leave the club this year as have left in the last 2 or 3 years. So they become highly predictive. Unlike your mutual fund, past performance in the case of attrition is a great indicator of future results. Now, retention, you've heard a lot about retention, and it's essential. Every member you keep is a member you don't have to replace, but it's highly overrated as a growth strategy. You can't retain your way from 20 to 24 members. And more importantly, you should start attracting new members right off the blocks in July and August before you see those resignations. Because trust me, folks, those resignations will happen at about the same rate people have resigned each of the past several years. And they'll continue throughout the year. In fact, they tend to be backloaded, which is the danger about waiting until you see people start resigning to turn on your new member attraction machine. You actually need to pre-replace those members likely to leave your club. And all that information is in the Membership Success Center Progress Dashboard. Now you get to the Membership Success Center from either DACDB, the district tab you see here, and you click on the Membership Success Center icon. Now you can also get there from Club Runner. In the case of Club Runner, what you do is you go to the Reports tab in Club Runner and look for the Membership Success Center link. Now I'd like to talk with you about the Progress Dashboard. This is the most important tool for your club to see whether it is on track with respect to attracting new members. And it opens and looks like this. Now take a look. The things you really need to know about your club are right up here at the top. New members, in this case, this is a snapshot taken at mid-year, January 1st of last year. This club had attracted 3 new members. They had lost 1. So they're up a net of +2, and it's January, and they're basking in the glow of that +2. They feel really good about themselves. What they have forgotten is that on average, they lose 9 members a year. And of course, what they also have is a fanciful membership goal, frankly, of growing by 8 from 46 to 54, probably about twice the membership growth they should have anticipated, but that's their goal, not mine. So what that means is that they need 17 new members in order to meet their goal. Now, that is represented by this gold pace line that starts on July 1st and ramps up until June 1st. And in this case, 17 new members That's a hefty bunch of folks to need to find over the course of the year. And let's take a look at how they're doing. This little double arrow up here expands this chart so that you can really home in on the detail. And what you'll see here, again, we're looking at January 1st. Their pace to attracting those new members should have been at a rate of about 9 at this point of the year. The fact is that by January 1, they had attracted only 3. And more importantly, that shortfall in pace was clearly predictable months before. They've been behind pace all year. And you probably might conclude that they didn't catch up all the way to that pace line over the course of the year. In fact, not only did they not reach their goal of +8 members, they ended up July 1st, 2024 with a net loss of 1. So this is what happens if you don't get off the blocks, if you don't get started, if you don't get with attracting new members early enough in the game, you simply can't catch up. The new member pace line runs out in front of you and you just can't catch up late in the game. Now, I'd like to offer some takeaways for this. One of them is that attrition is real. Clubs lose members every year. It's unlikely, looking across a district, you'll hardly ever find more than 1 or 2 clubs in an entire district that didn't have any membership loss in a given year. And you'll find none that don't lose members on, say, a 3-year average. Average terminations are an excellent predictor. You can take a look at the number of people that leave your club each year, and that's presented for you in the Membership Success Center. That's about the number of people that you need to replace this year. And terminations are back-end loaded. You will not see terminations at any heavy rate up in the front end of the year where we are right now. Those people will wait until the end of this calendar year, or they'll wait until the end of the Rotary year to resign, and they'll surprise you on the back end at about the same rate they have always before. Now, I want to mention there is no metric. I'll repeat that. There is no metric during the year to tell whether you're improving on retention. And the reason for that is retention is random. It's really lumpy. It's not linear throughout the year. Unlike tracking the pace of new member attraction, where you'd really like it to be on kind of a smooth, steady ramp, you have no idea when people are going to terminate out of your club. And I'll promise you that it will surprise you on the back end. And finally, you want to pre-replace those folks. You want to start attracting new members in July, August, September. And folks, let's get started. I'll leave you with one somewhat chilling metric that I just took a look at this morning. Of over 900 Rotary clubs in our zone, 500, more than half, 500 of our clubs have not attracted a single new member yet this year. We're better than 2 months into the year, and more than half of our clubs have not attracted a single new member. They're not even in the starting blocks. We need to get off the blocks and down the track, and we need to get started. Thanks.
Terry, thank you very much for that overview on the Success Center as well as the Success Track. I also wanted to say thank you to Anat and Kurt for sharing how they've been so successful for over the last 4 years now. And a reminder for everyone here today, if you have any questions for Anat, Kurt, or Terry, use the Q&A box to enter your questions, and we'll moderate those among the 3 of them. But first, I'd like to recap from a high level what you heard from all 3 speakers. The first, help your members identify the sort of members your club needs, whether it's thought leaders or creative folks who love different ways of fundraising while they're fundraising. Second, create a culture of guest is best, so visitors feel welcomed and engaged from the first moment they enter the room. Third, help all your members see the benefit of having a larger network of Rotarians and more hands to do projects. And a little bonus, do it now, because not only would it ignite your club, but it's so much more fun to be on a winning team that is growing year over year. So, as I mentioned, we're transitioning over to our Q&A segment. So what questions do you have for our presenters? Use the Q&A box in Zoom to let us know. And Terry, it looks like the first question we have here is for you, sir. Terry, the question is, with August being membership month, Does that mean that clubs should get all of their new members during that month so that they can focus on all the other areas of their club throughout the rest of the year? When really should clubs prioritize gaining new members?
You know, Rotary Club is a whole lot like a business, and a business realizes that they need to start at the beginning of their year, usually January, and they need to be attracting customers every month because they know they're going to lose some. What did all those different businesses and industries have in common that know their loss rates, they know their attrition rates? They got over it. They figured out that attract new customers, or in the case of trade associations, new members every month of the year. Likewise, the idea of attracting as many members as you need in August, my Rotary Club is a large Rotary Club like Kurt's, and we need about 45 new members in a year to meet our growth goals and also our replacement, and that'd be tough to do in the month of August. I also mentioned that in almost every club, we see clubs that need 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 15, 20 members. You've got to start that early in the year, and you've got to attract members every month.
So early in the year and every single month. Thank you for that, Terry.
Just like voting in Chicago, early and often.
Right. Terry, actually, there's an additional question here for you regarding the Membership Success Center. Someone here is stating that they don't see this same screen as what you shared today on the My Rotary page. Where exactly can people find the Membership Success Center?
You access the Membership Success Center through either DACDB or Club Runner. You do not start in My Rotary. You do not start on the Zone site. You start in DACDB. The reason for that is when you're logged into either of those two member management platforms, we know your club. And what we do is we drop you into the MSC right into your club's data, right into the homepage. And in fact, we can send you an email on a regular basis to drop you right into your progress dashboard. So the important thing is we know your club. We also know your access level. So we know whether, for example, you have the rights to edit a membership goal or not, whether you have the rights to look at other clubs in the district if you're a district leader. So you start from someplace where we know who you are, and that's in either DACDB or Club Runner.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that clarification. Kurt, you're coming up to the plate. People are asking this question over and over again. Overwhelmingly, I'm seeing in here, people in the chat are asking, what is a thought leader? And I know you addressed that, so before you answer, let me add to it just in case there was something missed during your segment. Can you also share why do we want thought leaders in our clubs, and how do we attract them, and where do we find them exactly?
Yeah, so great question. And as I indicated in the presentation, it's really not an easy one to answer. So that was kind of our effort to kind of a catch-all category for, again, people that might be very young in their career, who we believe would be good Rotarians. Typically, it's going to be someone who is not only upperly mobile within their organization, but they also are active in the community. So we have a lot of young members in the club that are very, very active in other organizations. They're leaders in those organizations. And even though they may not be the head of a company, they're important to us. And they've proven that they can make things happen. So it's really a catch-all category that as I said, younger people in their career, but also people that have demonstrated that they make a difference in the community.
You know what, Kurt, that might actually answer the next question that I had here for you that someone's asking. They wanted to know, because your candidate qualifiers make for some pretty impressive potential members, how do you ensure that you're not rejecting or missing out on potentially good members that don't meet those qualifications?
Yeah, so that's hard, but the application process always has a sponsor, and that sponsor is always a current Rotarian. So we're counting on them to know something about that individual. So as I'd indicated in my presentation, we have a qualifications committee that reviews each of those applications, and that committee is made up of the previous 5 presidents. So they're reviewing those applications. So hopefully within the 5 of them, they're digging deep and understanding what that person can meet to our club. But if they have questions about, they'll go back to the sponsor and ask more questions about that individual. So hopefully once they've gotten past that point in time, we've captured those people that want to be members. They've demonstrated that they are willing to contribute to the organization, and then they go to the board of directors for final approval. And that's typically a rubber stamp because we've done a lot of due diligence on the front end.
Okay. Well, Kurt, I have just one more to add to that just came in that seems to fall in line with that. An issue
Okay.
that some clubs are having is that time commitment could be a little tough for once a week lunches among some of the business leaders that you're probably attracting. How do you overcome that objection to get them to participate?
Not very well. But it is, I mean, that's a key factor. You know, we have our meetings are noontime on Mondays. It's a luncheon meeting, and that some people just can't make that, and they're clear that they can't always make that. But we hope to get those people involved in other activities. We have an engagement committee that does various activities, social events typically, that are beyond the scope of a Monday meeting. We have a connections committee that is involved in getting members connected with each other, both within and without the meeting. And we find that some people attend those activities when they can't attend the Monday meetings. So we try to get them involved in other ways.
So it seems like there's something for everyone then.
Right.
Great. Okay, well, Anat, questions are starting to come in and piling in for you. So I hope you're ready, bud. First one I have here for you is, what's the best strategy to instill the culture of guest is best in a club? How can all of the other clubs that are here today mirror this in their own club?
Well, I think for us, what was important is to help members remember what it felt like when they first came to their Rotary Club. The warmth, the connection, the sense of engagement, the feeling that this is something they want to be a part of. And when we bring that up to our members, they nostalgically recall that and remember that good, warm feeling, and they want our guests to feel that. Couple with that with the fact that, like I said, we've got a lot of salespeople in our clubs, and we understand that it's always best to put your best foot forward, and you may only have one shot to invite this member and have them come. So it's very important for us to instill that guest is best philosophy and just really embrace people when they first come to the rooms.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. A second one for you here, sir, is your club offered large scale events. How are you able to get members engaged to pull off these big events?
Well, as you can see, the people that we roasted, that they were large enough. When you get celebrities like Cameron Kent and Richard Petty, I mean, come on, Richard Petty. When you get people like that, it's a no-brainer. They're already excited about it. And then add on top of that, we have great leadership who organizes and put our members together. And then it's very much an all hands on deck event. Every single member is involved to some capacity, and they happily do so. No one's, begrudgingly, helping out. Everyone wants to be a part of this.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that. I have a question here, and it's actually for both Kurt and Anat. Have you attempted to implement different membership levels, or are you operating with the same standard membership level in both your clubs? And either one of you can start.
We do not have different levels of membership.
Okay. Not?
We haven't either. We've had discussions about it, just never actually put it into practice yet.
So even without implementing these alternative membership levels, you've still been able to grow your clubs. Okay. It's quite impressive. I guess your clubs are very attractive and people want to be a part of those clubs. Anat, someone's asking an additional question about the roast. They're really interested. At the roast, what did you do to raise your money? We'd love to hear more from Anat about the roast themselves, the logistics, who presents. It's a really cool idea, and we just want to hear more about it.
Sure. So with our comedy roast, there's two aspects to it. So there's the ticket sales, obviously. So we're selling the tickets to get the people there. We raise money that way. In addition to that, we've become very good at setting up an online auction and having a live auction as well too. So that's the second aspect, to be able to raise funds. And when we meet with the roastees, we talk to them about, we ask them specifically, what is the charity or what charities are you interested in? We'll be happy to put that on there. And so when we advertise the events, we mention that this is for the Winston-Salem Street School, or this is for the Petty Family Foundation. And that helps a lot with raising funds and making donations as well too. And we certainly do give a great portion of it towards them, minus what our expenses were. So.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much on that. Kurt, I have another one here for you. The people are interested about the 340 people you have to put to work. It looks like you bring in about roughly 50 people each year. And if the last stage of recruitment is engaging them in immediately, how do you do that with so many new people every year? How does that work?
Well, it's not easy, but we do several things. One, as I shared, a member of the board of directors meets with every new member at some point in time. One is to create a connection, but secondly is to ask them what they're interested in. We want to find out what their interests are and how they feel like they should support Rotary, and then we find ways to do so. One key thing we do with new members is that we ask them to be a greeter at each meeting. So that's one way of getting many members during the year, with roughly 45 meetings a year, and we have 2 to 3 greeters at a time. So that's one way that we get people immediately involved. We also ask members to be moderators at the panels that we do at weekly meetings. That's another way to get a lot of people involved. And then lastly, we do have a number of committees, and even though we don't have enough committees for everybody, that's just one more tool that we use to get people involved. So it's a multitude of things that we do, different activities that we get people involved in.
Wonderful. Well, Kurt, thank you very much for that explanation. And thank you to everybody on the panel today for your time and your feedback and just supporting our clubs to help them grow. I do want to thank everybody that submitted a question. I understand that we're not able to get to all of them due to our time, but we do anticipate that we'll be able to follow up with those that submitted a question. We will also be dropping in the contact information for those on the panel today. So if you want, you can actually follow up at your leisure and ask the question directly of them. So next, I pass it on to my good friend Andy to help us talk about the upcoming events that we have going on. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jose, and thanks to Anat, Kurt, and Terry for sharing your words of wisdom about what growing clubs look like and how to get out of that danger zone with less than 25 members. And now on to our MAP awards. Here are leading districts based on attendance through August. District 6910 is leading with 24 attendees. Second is District 7680, which had 21 attendees. And District 7030 is third with 19 attendees. And the top clubs that are leading those districts and driving them to the front of the pack. Here's a list of those for 6910. You got Rockdale County and Johns Creek. And 7680, you've got Matthews and Charlotte and numerous others there at 2. And then 7030, you got Georgetown Central and Antigua. And if you've missed any part of this webinar, you can watch by going to rizones33-34.org/membership-action-plan. Should hopefully see a link to that there in the chat now. We'll have today's webinar up sometime in about the next 48 hours. Speaking of webinars, our next MAP webinar will focus on attraction action. Build your club with innovative and traditional solutions. Learn from other successful clubs how they have attracted new members. That will be on Monday, October the 14th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, and you can register using the link in the chat. And until then, get out there and recruit some new members, and we will see you next month.